So as Connor just told, my name is Mark Denihan and I work in ethical hacking. I graduated last September, so I'm coming right from where you are. It's right in the back of my head. Kind of a very, very panic part of my life where I wasn't sure if I was going to get a job or not, but I got an ICT contract or a graduate opportunity in IBM. So what I do is I work in ethical hacking. So this is the opposite from what you've seen on the news and everything. Just to get everyone started, what IBM is. IBM is one of the biggest IT and consultancy businesses in the world. So we hire a ridiculous amount of people, nearly 500,000, and in every continent of the globe, over 170 countries. Okay, so that gives you the opportunity for a lot of opportunities for travel if that's what you're interested in. I haven't traveled myself if that's not what you're interested in, but there's a lot of opportunities to do things that you might not get to do in other companies with IBM. So IBM makes a ridiculous amount of money, apparently 104.5 billion revenue a year, and we have 5 Nobel Prize winners. There's a patents program as well. If you've got great ideas and you can't afford to make your own patent, what you can do is you can go through IBM and then you can get money that way instead. So it's a great way to get an extra bonus into your paycheck. Other stuff that we've made, IBM made the first personal computer, the calculator, the lasers they use for laser eye surgery, the barcode that you'd see in shops everywhere. That's all IBM sort of inventions that would have come from those sort of things. And now it's 102 years old. So now, just to get everyone started, is anyone actually familiar with a hack from the last 2 years? Anybody? Go on.
Aaron Schwartz hacking the legal database.
Yes, brilliant. That's fantastic. So security is really hard. Okay, every company on the board right now has had their web application specifically hacked in the last 2 years. Okay, so it's very difficult to get correct, and a lot of people on this board have even been hacked very recently, quite publicly, through Java exploits. So everyone probably has Java installed in their computer. And I don't know if you guys knew this, Java had some serious security vulnerabilities that allowed people to gain complete control of your computer across the network. So it worked out quite badly for companies who were running Java. So the headlines would have been reading that Evernote got hacked, that Twitter got hacked, Facebook got hacked. But really it was through Java vulnerabilities. And it's kind of interesting to see how the world looks at these things. Whose fault was it really? Because even the latest version of Java would have been vulnerable to this. Twitter, I think they're still saying you should just turn Java off to keep your computer secure. So has anyone here in the audience been hacked? Has anyone, you've been hacked? Has any,
Mohammed killed Ban a couple of years ago.
Brilliant, brilliant. So has anyone else, has anyone ever got a virus on their computer? So you've been hacked essentially. Someone was running code in your computer that you didn't want them to. So the biggest example I can think of a hack in the last 2 years would be against the PlayStation Network. It cost over $100 million in damages, and it's still going. And they just recently got fined £250,000 for the exposure data that they gave out. This was through one of the vulnerabilities I look for in applications every day. So there's a thing called OWASP. If you're interested now in moving forward in security or even in development, in my opinion, if you're going to go anywhere in your career, you need to know how to develop your things securely. It's certainly going to be a big thing on your CV, or even when you bring it up in an interview, that I've looked at these things from OWASP, and OWASP is the Open Web Application Security Project, and they've got so much resources there to help you make your code more secure, or even find vulnerabilities that are in your code. It's they're most famous for their top 10 publication, and what this does is it's the top 10 web app vulnerabilities is for the top 10 vulnerabilities found in the industry for a given amount of time. So they're based on real exploits that come out every year, and they start, number 1 is the most damaging to the application and to the business, and then they get progressively less damaging as they go on, but they're all significant in their own way. Okay, so I'm just going to run through some of the things I'd look for in my day-to-day job. So the first thing, and number 1 on the OWASP top 10 list, is the injection vulnerability. So has anyone ever heard of this sort of stuff? You've been putting your hand up a lot, have you? So how this kind of works is if you've got this is a where clause for an SQL statement. You're expecting someone to put in their password. This is how they're going to log into your application. This is how a lot of applications work. Where password equals wrong. I'm not going to get in that way. Okay, it's going to return false, and I'm not going to get in. But when there's an injection vulnerability present, all of a sudden, if I put in wrong, dash or 1 equals 1, if you look at that, if the password's wrong or 1 equals 1, 1 equals 1 is always going to return true. So the Boolean equation that we're left with is false or true. And if anyone has done computer science, they're going to know pretty quick off their truth tables that that's always true. So now I can log in now as anyone in your whole application. So now it's completely broken. I could log in as administrator and start doing stuff that I shouldn't be able to do at all. You can imagine I can log into your Facebook and now I can delete all your friends. I don't know what people do these days. So that's not why it's number 1 on the OWASP top 10 list though. That's not the reason. It's because I can go in, let's say it's a banking application, and I don't like the amount that's in my balance. I can use an injection attack to run a query that'll change the amount that's in my account. I can completely cripple the integrity of an application. Or I can remove it. I can drop the tables. I can delete all the information and the application doesn't work anymore. I've removed the availability. And then let's say I'm looking at my credit card information, but I use some injection and now it's listing all of the credit cards in the bank. It's the confidentiality. It cripples a company and anyone can do it. You don't have to be logged in. You can be an employee. Everyone's a threat. Every single parameter that goes into an application. Okay, the next thing that's on the OWASP top 10 list is cross-site scripting. So the SQL injections on the server side, I'm actually making your server, your database server, do things it's not supposed to do. Cross-site scripting attacks, it's where I'm attacking you specifically. I'm attacking your browser. So what I do is, let's say your web application is putting out some user input. Okay, it's not trusted. It can be anything. The user can set it. Okay, so you can see here, for anyone who's familiar with HTML, that in these B tags, user input will come up as bold writing. Okay, but let's say instead of putting in user input for a comment on some page, I put in script alert XSS/script. So now when your browser interprets that, your browser is going to execute that script and make a pop-up that says XSS. That's not the reason why it's number 2 in the OWASP top 10. It's because I can actually hook your browser and steal your session. I don't need your username and password, I've just become you. So now I can do everything as you, and I can even use your computer as a launch point for attacks now. I can attack your internal network. So if you don't deal with these things properly, I can damage your company. I can completely obliterate your user. I can even use this to deliver viruses onto your computer. This could have happened to you guys who got viruses in the past. This could have been the way that you were hacked. And the third thing in broken authentication and session management is the third thing in the OWASP 10 is broken authentication and session management. The last two, it's very easy to test for. I'm looking for where I can get something to execute extra code. This one's a lot more difficult. It's a lot like taking a hammer to an application, just trying to find something that's not working properly. And it can be abused through things like looking over someone's shoulder and reading their password. So a lot of companies at the moment, you might have seen Evernote had a huge attack recently where they got all their passwords and they started implementing two-step authentication. That's where you have your password and you have something else, a code that you keep changing so you can log in. So even if someone gets your password, they can't log in as you because they don't have your second piece of authentication. So that's how you stop guys like this abusing you. These go on and there's loads and loads more out there. So as a graduate, there's lots more to see. And absolutely, if you walked into an interview with me, I'd love to hear you say these things. I work in penetration testing, so I'm looking for these vulnerabilities in applications. But if I'm a developer lead, I'd love to hear that you know what they are and you know how to avoid them. It means I'm going to get less crap when you're developing things, and people like me won't be on your applications back all the time. Okay? So if you're interested now in taking, if you've got a little bit of flavor of something, this might be very interesting for you, it's a field you'd like to go into. There's some projects that are fantastic to learn these things. So the first one's the OWASP WebGoat project. We talked about OWASP before. Loads of projects like this, okay? OWASP WebGoat is a great place to start. It's all simulated attacks, so the problem with it is it's very safe to run on your computer. You're not going to be attacked. Your computer's not going to be compromised if you run this. But it's some of the new attack vectors that are out there. The more sophisticated attacks won't work with WebGoat because it's simulated. Now, DVWA is completely the opposite, but very similar because all the vulnerabilities are there. But if you run this on your computer and I'm on the same network, I could potentially completely decimate your computer. Okay, I can ruin you if you're running that. But all of the attack vectors work, so it's a very real example. So Security Shepherd is another project that's out there that combines things from both of them. All the attack vectors work because they're real vulnerabilities, but the vulnerabilities have been kind of limited to how much they can be exploited, so they won't damage the user or the environment that they're running. So it's a great way to start, and it assumes you know nothing about any of this. So security and penetration testing, it's not, I learned everything I know about it in IBM. I went in knowing nothing about it. It's a mindset that you need, lateral thinking. when just looking at something and trying to see how it breaks. So Security Shepherd's a great place to start. Another way to stand above everyone else when it comes to security and when you're going to be coming into me for an interview is security is a really small, really tiny community in Ireland. I think I know everyone who's in it. Everyone who's in it will go to chapter meetings in OWASP. OWASP have an Irish chapter. Just check them out on owasp.org, and then they have chapter meetings every couple of months. And you just rock in. They're going to notice that you're new, and then what's going to happen is when jobs are going, they're going to say, "Oh, I know this person who keeps showing up to chapter meetings. And let's interview this person. They're nice. They're sound over a few pints." So the HoneyNet is another organization. So OWASP is kind of telling you how to avoid being hacked, how to develop more securely, or how to find vulnerabilities in your code. The HoneyNet project is about, we've been attacked. So now, what do we do? HoneyNet sets up honeypots around the world. So they're purposely vulnerable boxes or computers for attackers to attack. But what's happening is you're logging everything that's happening so you can see what attackers do when they compromise boxes. It's very interesting stuff. It's like forensic stuff. It's what digital forensics love. Okay, so they have chapter meetings on every full moon in Engineers Ireland if anyone's interested. So you can check them out at honeynet.ie or .com. And then there's security conferences as well. If you show up at one of these, everyone's going to know who you are. So OWASP have an AppSec Ireland. IRIS is a forensic cybercrime conference that runs every year. And then the HoneyNet are at all these. They run the CTFs for these. What's the CTF? So those who game a lot, I assume I've got some gamers in the audience who knows what the CTF is. It's capture the flag. People jump around in some virtual world trying to grab a flag, bring it to the other end. So a capture the flag in security terms is when I'm trying to break a level to get a flag out of it. And when I return the flag, I get points. Okay, so it's generally through some sort of security vulnerability that's purposely there to try to find out extra stuff. Okay, if you start going to these, I go to these, I make these. It's the best way to upskill in security. I'd go to these very regularly. Okay, so don't forget about your course, guys. When you come in for an interview as a graduate, the only thing you might even talk about is going to be your final year project. You guys probably already finished that. Some people may hear who are doing theirs next year. If you wanted to be doing it in security, you should have some sort of security swim in it. If you've already done your project and you're interested in security, how secure did you write your application? Did you even if you start talking about, oh yeah, I put the OWASP top 10, I checked for all those issues and then mine's clean. You're head and shoulders above everyone else. Your course modules, if you have any optional modules, I absolutely recommend picking security because I think it's the most important thing in the world. Certifications, if there's a CCNA going, do these things because they mean so much out there in the real world. I know I did the CCNA course in DIT, and I didn't do the certification exam afterwards, and I really regret it because these things are really respected across the industry. And the most important thing I can possibly leave you with is, are you doing any personal projects? What are you doing in your spare time? Chances are the person who's sitting beside you is doing the same course as you, and you both have the same degree. So that's your competition for your graduate position. So how are you going to differentiate yourself from them? In your spare time, what are you doing? You should start doing something for an open source community like OWASP or the HoneyNet, and all of a sudden, you're going to look so much better to everyone who's there. Guys, if you have any questions, I just want to say you should check out IBM because IBM gave me this opportunity on a graduate contract, and now I'm working permanent for them. Everything I was talking about just there today is I've gained through IBM and through personal growth now working with OWASP and the HoneyNet. So it's a great place to work. I think they're hiring 70 to 80 graduate positions this year. Okay, so there's jobs up for grabs here. So I really, really think you guys should apply. You can check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook. There's the URL there as well. I look forward to seeing you guys in the interview room. Is there any questions? Yeah?
Had you done any hacking before going into
I hadn't done any hacking. I learned it all through IBM. So it's, as I said, it's a mindset. So if you have that, we want that. Okay. Any other questions? Just going to put a quick disclaimer out there.
IBM monitor you to make sure that you don't steal from banks.
They say they don't. They say they trust me. But no, it comes with the job. It's ethical hacking. I wouldn't even dream of doing that. I want to put a little disclaimer out there. I know I gave you very little information as to how to hack applications, but if any one of you go out there and hack the internet, I will personally hunt you down, because that's not the point of this. Ethical hacking is where you guys should be at. I don't want you guys to turn out like Anonymous and Lulzsec, who are still getting arrested for hacking Sony. Okay, they're bad guys. Be the good guys. Okay, I get paid to do it.
Kevin Mitnick started out that way, and now look at him.
Exactly. Okay.
He makes tons of money doing pen tests for companies.
Exactly. But I think very, very few people get hired these days now going from the dark side to the light side. I think people who go to the dark side just get arrested these days. Is this a question there?
Do you need to have a computer science degree to qualify into the graduate program?
No. Absolutely not. My boss has a physics degree. And he's my ethical hacking team lead. He taught me everything I knew. So you don't need a computer science degree to get into IBM. IBM is a huge company. We do so much. If it's not going to be ethical hacking you're going to be going into, we do so much with smarter cities, smarter water, smarter traffic. There's applications everywhere that you'll be able to contribute to. We're looking for such a wide skill set demographic. I'd apply anyway.
Great.
Cheers. Thanks guys.